good deeds would give good results is a evident fact. जैसे कहा जाता है ना, आप आम का पेड़ बोएंगे तो आम ही खाएंगे. And to that extent, the statements of all the Indic religions are congruent. But law of karma does not end there. When you go into details, you find substantive differences. In some traditions, law of karma is a fatalistic law. आपने जो कर्म किया उसका फल वही आएगा. अगर आपने किसी जन्म में किसी के साथ चीटिंग की है तो आपको अगले जन्म में वही चीटिंग महसूस होगी. This is what we is, for example, the classic example which is given is, and I'm giving it as only an example, not to hurt anybody's feelings. I have great respect for that, both the great persons. Lord Rama, it is said, killed Bali by hiding behind a tree. That was seen as an unwholesome kamma. And the result of it he felt in the next incarnation as Lord Krishna, when he was killed by some hunter hiding behind, and an arrow pierced his foot and he passed away. This is how normally the explanation of Kamma is given in the Hindu scriptures, which is a fatalistic. I'm just indicating that. It's a fatalistic Kamma. Dashrath killed inadvertently Shravan Kumar, and then he sought for all, but he had to face just as the parents of the Shravan Kumar had to face the separation from their son and they died. Similarly, he died when his son separated from him. So there's a one-to-one correspondence. In Buddha's teaching, there is not one-to-one correspondence. That is what is the fundamental difference.
So, sir, therefore, holding that perspective जो fatalistic perspective है या इसी तरह के और भी perspective हो सकते हैं, that would not be right view then.
Yeah, that will be a wrong view. In Buddha's teachings, that will be a wrong view.
That's what basically I wanted to understand that.
Yeah.
Right.
So what Gita said is actually based on the proper explanation of Kamma given by the Buddha. You have mentioned it so many times, no? About that Lona Sutta, lump of salt put in a cup of water and put in a Ganga, Ganges, and see the difference, the effect it produces. So there it is said that the fruits of the Kamma, which they come, their intensity would depend upon the state of the mind at the moment. So if I am keeping my state of the mind positive, wholesome all through, then unwholesome Kamma will not find a proper soil to fructify. But if the time has come and they have to fructify, then they will produce a very small effect. Because the soil, the mental soil, is not commensurate with the seed of the Kamma. So the effect would be lesser. The Kamma Vipak will be milder. On the other hand, if my mind state is very unwholesome, the Kamma Vipaka will find a very good, suitable ground for its growth, and it will grow like leaps and bounds. So the effect will be multiplied. So the effect of Kamma, the Kamma Vipaka, is not a fixed entity, like a fatalistic entity. आपने किसी को चाटा मारा तो आपको अगले जन्म में भी कोई चाटा मारेगा, and so on. It's not like that. So he explains it depends upon the state of the mind, and that's how the possibility of getting out of Kamma exists. Otherwise, there's no possibility of getting out of Kamma. So same thing applies for the wholesome kamma. If you have done some wholesome kamma in the past, and my mental state is present wholesome, much great, abundant fruit. If the present state is unwholesome, that wholesome kamma will not be able to produce much fruit. So this is how the kamma principle operates, and therefore, what Gita was saying about advising people who are ill to do acts of generosity and all that is they are doing wholesome kamma, and they hope that the fruits of this wholesome kamma will mitigate their illness, which is a result caused by some unwholesome kamma. That is the understanding. Whether it will do or not is a too complex a matter for any of us to figure out. But in any case, doing wholesome kamma will never be fruitless. It will produce its own results in due course of time. So that's how we understand the kamma and see its relevance in the present context. So here, when when Ajahn is saying belief in constellations is, and seeing that through manipulating constellations you can get some benefit here, is uh, contrary to the law of kamma, because you're thinking that you can change your effect of kamma by some external means, by some rituals of that kind. Of course, if you are doing wholesome kamma of any kind, that will have its own effect, certainly. So we have to see how the uh, how to interpret the statement there. So that's
Sridhar,
how I
can
understood.
I can I take it a little further, and not for the purpose of unnecessary discussion, but just for understanding better? To the extent, so I agree that in some beliefs, the law of karma has different perspectives, and like it can be fatalistic or some other way. But not getting into those details, simply saying good karma will lead to good rebirth and bad karma will produce bad results is in some sense satisfying the Buddha's mundane reason for the people to follow that law, follow that wholesome karmas.
Yeah,
So to the
of
for the
course.
mundane perspective, is that not sufficient?
The the point is that mundane does not mean ignorance. Mundane there
हाँ
means
ये क्लैरिटी नहीं है मुझे.
something which is producing its result within the realms of existence. So English word mundane has different interpretation. That is a trouble. So it is Lokiya Dhamma and Lokottar Dhamma. Lokiya meaning pertaining to this world. Lokottar means which transcends, which makes you go out of the cycle of birth and death. So we should look at it in that definition. So in the Lokiya sense, of course, doing wholesome kamma will produce good results.
मैं उसी की बात कर रहा हूँ सर, उसी केवल
जी
उसी की बात कर रहा हूँ.
जी बिल्कुल ठीक है वो तो है ही। There's
लोकीय सेंस में वो
beautiful verses in Dhampada, you know. Idapachati te idapanja tapati pecha tapati punya पापकारो सर्वत्र तपति। इधर भी तपता है, भविष्य में भी तपेगा जो गलत काम करेगा। इधर नंदती पेच नंदती
जी
पुण्यकारो सर्वत्र, ऐसे कुछ है। तो पुण्य करने वाला अभी भी प्रसन्न रहेगा, भविष्य में भी प्रसन्न रहेगा। टू दैट एक्सटेंट all Indic traditions believe in that, and it's perfectly fine. To that extent, it is perfectly fine.
दैट्स ऑल आई वाज probably trying to suggest
Yeah.
that.
जी जी थैंक यू। यस भावना।
सर सर एक क्वेश्चन है।
हम्म,
मतलब मेरा भी ऐसा मानना था कि ये जो कर्म में बहुत ही वन टू वन रिलेशनशिप है, करस्पॉन्डेंस है। कि जैसे कि मोगलाना की भी जो डेथ हुई थी, तो उनकी वो लोगों ने उनको बीट किया था और उसके बाद ही डाइड, और वो इसी वजह से हुआ था क्योंकि उन्होंने अपने पेरेंट्स को के साथ वैसा किया था। तो फिर सर ऐसा क्यों कह रहे हैं कि वन टू वन करस्पॉन्डेंस
killing
बुद्ध
of killing of parents is a garu kamma. Garu kamma means
वो?
extremely destructive, heavy and destructive kamma.
यस यस।
There are 6 Guru Kammas which are identified in the Buddha's teachings, of which you can never escape the consequences, even if you become enlightened on other accounts. और जिस इनकारनेशन में आप वो काम करेंगे, उस इनकारनेशन में आप मुक्त हो ही नहीं सकते, उसका इफेक्ट तो आएगा ही. सो व्हेन Venerable Mahamoggallana had done that deed, he had not killed these parents by cutting them out. He had given them poison at the behest of his wife. And in the next life, he lived in hell for eons. He had already borne the maximum fruit of that. और फिर उससे जब बाहर आए, जब वो साधना की और ये यहाँ तक पहुंचे, फिर भी उसका रेजिडुअल इफेक्ट रह गया था. तो उसका रेजिडुअल इफेक्ट था. तो जो 6 गरु कम्मा है ना, वो उसके विपाक से कभी निकल नहीं सकते आप. माता पिता की हत्या करना, बुद्ध को हानि पहुंचाना, अरहंत की हत्या करना, संघ में भेद करना, दीज आर सपोज टू बी गरु कम्मा. दिस इज a kind of classification which Buddha had done. It's not found in other this kind of traditions. So that is the consequence of that. So there also it was not one to one. It was the impact of killing a parents is immediate next birth will be in hell. That's fixed. So any of those 6 Guru Kammas, if you do, next birth will be in Avicii hell, the highest kind of troublesome place. I mean, according to the Buddhist cosmology. So we have that teaching in about Devadatta that he felt very gravely ill and he wanted to realize his mistake and he told his disciples, चलो मुझे भगवान बुद्ध के पास ले चलो, मैं क्षमा मांगूंगा. But he couldn't come. उससे पहले कि वो सावस में जेतवन पहुंचता, रास्ते में ही उसको उसकी तबीयत बहुत खराब हो गई. उसने कहा मुझे ज़रा बाहर निकलना की कोशिश की, अपनी जो पलंग सा उस पर ला रहे थे. The moment he kept his feet on the ground, the earth opened up and he was swallowed. That's what the story goes about his life. आपने देखा होगा शायद फिल्म में भी.
Yes, yes.
So that the trying to hurt a Buddha and make him bleed, because Buddha you can't kill, but you can make him hurt and bleed. And then doing schism he had done double things. So he was swallowed up by the earth, according to the legends. Because that Guru Kamma is heavy in the sense that its effect will dominate over all other good Kammas you may have done. बाकी सारे गुड काम पीछे रह जाएंगे, सबसे पहले इसी का असर आएगा.
सिर्फ गुरु कर्म का तो समझ आ गया, बट मतलब मान लीजिए ऐसे कोई लाइट वाला बुरा कर्म किया, मतलब
हाँ हाँ, उसका 1-to-1 कोरेस्पॉन्डेंस नहीं होता ना.
किसी भी फॉर्म में मैनिफेस्ट हो सकता है.
हाँ नहीं होगा उसी स्टेट में, बट इंटेंसिटी विल चेंज डिपेंडिंग ऑन the present state of mind. Intensity will change, can change. That's what the Buddha teaches us.
बट इफेक्ट वैसा ही होगा.
उसी तरह का
इंटेंसिटी
हो,
विल
मतलब
बी डिपेंडेंट ऑन माइंड स्टेट.
आपने अनहोलसम स्टेट ऑफ माइंड क्रिएट की, तो उसका जो इमीडिएट नेक्स्ट मोमेंट माइंड मोमेंट होगा वो उसी तरह का होगा ना. और उसी के हिसाब से उसका इम्प्रेशन पड़ेगा माइंड स्ट्रीम में, और उसी इम्प्रेशन के कारण ऐसी माइंड में दोबारा उसका विपाक होगा. तो मेंटल स्टेट वैसी होगी, फिजिकल क्या होगी वो वेरी कर सकती है. और वो
अच्छा,
मेंटल
मतलब
स्टेट
सर मैंने मान लीजिए किसी को बहुत बुरा किया, चाटा मार दिया, या मेरी आदत है मैंने लोगों को चाटा मार दी, तो मेरे साथ ऐसा होगा कि मेरे साथ भी लोग, मतलब लोग हो सकता है अलग हो, बट मेरे को लोग चाटा मारेंगे.
ऐसे इस तरह की कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंस भगवान ने नहीं बताई है भैया.
ओके,
इट्स
ओके.
नॉट ए पार्ट ऑफ हिज टीचिंग. फॉर एग्जाम्पल ही सेज इन द Chulakama Vivanga Sutta, a person who is constantly angry, he is reborn as a ugly person. तो ऐसा नहीं कहा कि उसको सारे तो हमेशा से एग्री करेंगे. दैट इज सीन एज द इफेक्ट ऑफ इट. A person who does some murder, in the next life he'll have a short life. When the fruit of that comes, his life will be cut short. तो इस तरह के रिजल्ट्स कम्मा और कम्मा विपाक उस सूत्र में बताए गए हैं. सो दे आर नॉट कि यहाँ आपने मर्डर किया तो आपका भी मर्डर होगा, ऐसा नहीं है। उनकी टीचिंग में इस तरह की बात नहीं है। I'm just repeating what I've learned.
थैंक यू
Obviously,
सर।
there's no
हाँ
explanation.
थैंक यू।
Okay.